Russia and Ukraine are going to meet for ceasefire talks again. The world is once again holding its breath on the outcome of ceasefire talks between Russia and Ukraine, which will take place in Turkey this week. The talks are the brainchild of Putin, who rejected demands from Ukraine and their European allies of a full and unconditional ceasefire, instead suggesting they meet for talks in Turkey on Thursday of this week. Zelensky released a statement ahead of the talks with his customary jab at Putin. "We await a full and lasting ceasefire starting from tomorrow to provide the necessary basis for diplomacy. There is no point in prolonging the killings, and I will be waiting for Putin in Turkey on Thursday. Personally, I hope that this time the Russians will not look for excuses." The statement came after Zelensky met with world leaders Emmanuel Macron, Keir Starmer and Friedrich Merz in Kiev and gave Russian President Vladimir Putin 36 hours to respond to their demands, to agree to negotiate the end of the war or risk Europe unleashing massive sanctions against them and supplying Ukraine with devastating weapons. Putin, of course, ignored the ceasefire demands as per usual, but no consequences have been experienced as of yet.
Oh, sure. Take care, and we keep in touch. Always, if you want to give me a call, and we immediately play. Right? Thank you. Yes. See you in London.
See you in London.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's good. And we will see the train. I will make it the statement.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer was blasted for his attempt at tough talk to Putin.
No more ifs and buts, no more conditions and delays. Putin didn't need conditions when he wanted a ceasefire to have a parade, and he doesn't need them now. Ukraine has shown the willingness to engage again and again, but again and again, Putin has refused. So we are clear, all 5 leaders here, all the leaders on the meeting we just had with the coalition of the willing, an unconditional ceasefire, rejecting Putin's conditions, and clear that if he turns his back on peace, we will respond. Working with President Trump.
This commentator said, if Putin doesn't accept ceasefire, we will respond. Does he honestly think that Putin will toe the line just because he has warned him? Totally deluded and irrelevant, Keir Starmer making a fool of himself yet again. And this commentator doubled down, saying Keir Starmer and his coalition of the willing threaten Putin if he refuses the ceasefire. Threaten what? Military action? More funding for the UAF? More toothless sanctions? I don't think Putin bothers to listen to Keir anymore. And Trump weighed in too. The US president blasted both Ukraine and Russia, calling an end to the war. He said, President Putin of Russia doesn't want to have a ceasefire agreement with Ukraine, but rather wants to meet on Thursday in Turkey to negotiate a possible end to the bloodbath. Ukraine should agree to this immediately. At least they will be able to determine whether or not a deal is possible. And if it is not, European leaders and the US will know where everything stands and can proceed accordingly. I'm starting to doubt that Ukraine will make a deal with Putin, who's too busy celebrating the victory of World War II, which could not have been won, not even close, without the United States of America. Have the meeting now. But despite what seems like constant threats and ultimatums from the rest of the world, Putin doesn't seem interested in a ceasefire. This commentator said, apparently Trump's 4th threat in 3 months to impose additional sanctions on Russia if they don't agree to a ceasefire is now off because Putin doesn't want to do that. 4 threats, 4 Putin rejections, 4 Trump does nothing. But not everyone was so unforgiving of world leaders. This online commentator celebrated the strength being shown by Europe, saying, "This is exactly the kind of decisive leadership Europe needs. A clear message that aggression will not be tolerated, backed by unity and determination. When Europe stands together, it can be a force for peace, and this ultimatum shows a firm commitment to supporting Ukraine and defending international law. Let's hope it leads to a meaningful step towards ending the conflict." And it wasn't only world leaders who were talking tough against Russia. The new Pope, Leo XIV, called out Russia as the aggressor in the war against Ukraine.
Claro, este es un problema gravísimo que está afectando a todo el mundo. Hay muchos análisis que se dan al conflicto, a la guerra que se está sufriendo actualmente en Ucrania, pero desde mi punto de vista se trata de una auténtica invasión imperialista donde Rusia quiere conquistar un territorio por motivos de poder y pues ventaja propio de Rusia por el tema de la ubicación estratégica, como también por el gran valor de lo que es Ucrania culturalmente, como también históricamente y también en producción para Rusia. Y se está cometiendo, ya está comprobado, hay crímenes contra la humanidad que se están cometiendo en Ucrania. Hay que pedir mucho a Dios por la paz, pero yo creo que hay que ser más claros nosotros también. Incluso algunos políticos en nuestro país no quieren reconocer los horrores de esta guerra y de la maldad que Rusia está pues realizando en toda su actuar